Good afternoon, nutmeggers. My name is Selena Rifkin, and this is Make Connecticut Healthy Again. A little bit about me. I have a master's in nutrition and over 25 years of experience in finding and eating real non-processed food. But even though I have a degree and wrote a thesis, I don't expect you to just take my word for anything. Please don't take my word. I will always put sources in the show notes, and I urge you to do your own research. We just don't have enough going on right now in the medical field to allow doctors to just tell us what to do. That was for a previous generation. And doctors have proven to be less than trustworthy. And while some are certainly good, it really is up to us to manage our own health. So today, we're going to start a short series called Don't Eat That Crap. It's going to be 5 parts, and we're going to get honest about nutrition and why so much of what we're sold is, well, let's just call it crap. And this comes straight from my book chapter on that topic. Let's start with episode 1, which is what exactly counts as junk food and why it's not just about the occasional treat. So let's dive in. The definition that hits hardest for me is junk food is stuff you can eat that delivers basically zero usable building materials for your body. Instead, what you're putting in your mouth is dumping harmful substances that waste your energy, crowd out real nutrients, or actually actively damage tissues and biological pathways. The worst part? It can be cheaper than real food. No cooking required, and not just cheaper in money, but in time, because with no cooking required, just rip open a package and shove it in your mouth. And even better, a lot of it comes in screamingly bright packages, blasted everywhere on YouTube ads, billboards, and magazines. Junk food will hack your attention in the same way it hacks your taste buds. Manufacturers have literally engineered it to hijack every ancestral craving we have for sweet, salty, fatty, and crunchy. Here's the worst sneaky thing. Junk food doesn't even always look like junk. Some of it gets recommended by governments and even doctors as healthy. Can you say margarine? A few of these are less terrible than others, sure, but less bad is not the same as good. Don't fall for that trap. I was pretty lucky growing up in a couple of ways. My mom wasn't a gourmet chef, but she fed me things my friends were terrified of, like liver, fish, mollusks, shellfish. These were all made regular appearances on our table. And I have to admit that I enjoyed grossing my friends out, telling them about having liver for dinner because, yeah, I actually liked liver. Green veggies, maybe not my favorite, but I've come around. We ate seafood a few times a week, and that wasn't usual in Pennsylvania where I grew up. And she also did not buy into that low fat craze, which most people in my generation didn't. She was really early into the health food thing, and the low fat thing hadn't really hit at that point. And I got to eat all the cheese I wanted, and I ate a lot of it, except when she could convince me to eat, carrot sticks and celery sticks. So definitely not a fan of the celery sticks, but I did eat them begrudgingly, but I did eat them. But all of the foods that she was feeding me were packed with real nutrients, and they weren't as much modern food is. They were actually the real food, even if they weren't always the best thing. They weren't actually loaded with chemicals when I was growing up. You could read a label and it wasn't this long, it was this long. Very different. Mom dipped into the health food movement, so there were various supplements that were available. And I got to say that the food that used to qualify as health food is just let me tell you that it's improved a lot. I can still remember the smell of that health food store, and it was like bad seed oils. So that wasn't so good. But, they were trying. Our bodies aren't just running on calories for energy. We are constantly rebuilding our systems. Our blood cells are replaced every 3 months or so. And that takes longer for different cells in the body. Our bones, it takes about 7 years for all of the cellular structure of our bones to turn over. The gut lining gets replaced every few days. Immune cells, muscle, and even bone cells slowly get replaced. Our brain and heart cells, however, have to last your whole life. So you don't want to mess with those if you can possibly avoid it. So here's a question for you. Do you know what your brain's made of? Saturated fat. What happens if we start putting polyunsaturated fat in our cells, in our bodies? Because this is all structural. But we're going to get back to that. But anyway, all of that rebuilding is going to need raw materials. That's protein, fats, vitamins, minerals. All of that seafood, liver, full fat cheese, those gave me the materials to build a solid body. But mom missed some big ones. Sugar definitely stayed in our lives. There was a lot of sugar. Not just what she was giving me, but what I was managing to go out and get for myself. We lived next to a drugstore, and I used to steal the laundry money and take it over to the drugstore and buy 4 candy bars. I was a 4 candy bar a day gal once I figured out I could do that. There was a lot of sugar in my life. And mom really wasn't aware of that. And she was also very fond of cookies and ice cream. So there was usually some cookies around, and ice cream was a regular thing in our house. She didn't do soda, but there was all the other things. And she did switch us to margarine instead of butter, and that was not a good choice either. That was a mistake. The thing about building a house with warped lumber and sandy cement is it's going to sag, crack, and collapse eventually. And it might take until you're in your 50s or your 60s for that to start happening. How many people who are listening right now have joint pain? Got chronic joint pain? Eyes starting to go a little bit, it's a little blurry, having trouble remembering stuff. Well, that's what happens when you feed your bodies the wrong structural components, or not enough of them, or components that actually cause damage. And for decades, the government has been giving medical advice and pushing low fat, high carb, and that's the exact opposite of what rebuilds our bodies the best. And then those pathways all get disrupted. And we shouldn't be surprised that we're tired and we're worn out. And yeah, I certainly know about all the stuff they're spraying in the air. I'm very aware of that. But all of the toxins that get thrown at us, if we have strong structure in the first place, it's going to be a lot easier to fight off all of the stuff that's getting thrown at us. So if you're not getting the right materials, your energy's going to tank, your mood's going to drop, your immune system's going to go sideways. You're going to get everything that comes down the pike. And that all makes it easier to grab the next craving hit instead of real food. Real food starts to taste bland next to the hyper-engineered, salty, sweet, tart explosion in a bag. Our brains get hijacked. Our intelligence, poof, gone out the window. Urge takes over. That's junk food in a nutshell. In the next episode, we're going to talk about why it literally costs your body more energy than it gives back, and how evolution set us up to fall for it. So thanks for listening. And if this resonates, share it with someone still stuck in the shiny packages. Start a healthy habit. Start walking daily. Get outside. Get rid of something that's bad for you. Just one thing. You are needed. Your family needs you. Your community needs you. Let's make Connecticut healthy again. Next week will be the second section on junk food. Nourish yourself wisely. God bless America. God bless Connecticut.